All right. Yes. Namaste and welcome everyone for today's webinar, Entering the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita through Sanskritam, language of the divine dialogue. I've always wondered, and maybe you have also, and wanted to read the Bhagavad Gita and understand the shlokas without the references, right? Without the translation in Sanskritam. So in today's webinar, we're going to discuss an entire program where you learn Sanskritam through Bhagavad Gita, or you learn the Bhagavad Gita through Sanskritam, both, right? It's a one-of-a-kind program offered by the Hindu University of America, and it meets the dual objectives of offering our students a comprehensive and structured approach to learning the Sanskrit language, and two, enabling them to learn and understand the important Sanskrit text, the entire text, as a literary work in its original form. So in this webinar, in today's webinar, and throughout the whole program, actually, we'll discuss how you gain the ability to read, write, comprehend, and interpret texts, as well as chant in Sanskrit. And so the program is amazing. It's highly systematic, just like the nature of Sanskritam. And we're going to get into the benefits and the details of this program today. And our two faculty who are leading the program today are Sri Haridas Radhakrishnanji, who is a Sanskrit faculty in HUA's Community Education Division. He holds an MA in Sanskrit from HUA MITSVS in Pune, and he brings deep understanding and also joyful passion for Sanskritam to his teaching. He's been working for decades. He's got a background as an IT engineer, but again, it's his love of Sanskritam that has brought him to us today. And then, of course, we've got Srimati Parvati Sriram. Parvati ji is our coordinator of Sanskrit studies at HUA. She's a physical therapist by profession, but she has over a decade of experience in teaching Sanskritam and Vedanta. She's been part of retreats and she's giving a lot of structure and teaching so many courses. I was surprised to find out how many courses she's teaching to make our Sanskrit programs work. We're really glad to have Parvati ji with us today. Yes, and with that, thank you everyone for joining. I got a poll up and I'll hand it to, I think, Parvati ji to get us started, and I'll be in the background supporting. Parvati ji?
Sarvebhyo namo namaha. Let us start with an invocation prayer. Mahodaya, Haridat Mahodaya, Bhavan Arambham Karoti Kilam.
तथैव ॐ नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं चैव ततो जयमुदीरयेत्.
Dhanyavadaha Mahodaya. So today Haridas ji will be giving an overview of the Sanskritam through Bhagavad Gita. And this is a 4-year program, so he will go over everything that would be covered in the program and help you understand what exactly this program offers for you. Mahodaya, without undue delay.
Yes. Namaste everyone. Welcome to this webinar. As the name implies, it is about learning Sanskritam through the Bhagavad Gita. It is uniquely, I think, aiming at an adult audience. There are many kinds of students who come to learn Sanskritam from all ages and all cultural backgrounds. And there are different approaches for learning Sanskritam, each of which has its own unique speciality. Some of them focus on Sambhashanam, acquiring conversational skills as the primary focus, as the primary thing they're focusing on. And some of them are geared towards comprehension, comprehending the language and reading the texts. Of course, it's not exclusive. You have always a mix of it, but where does the focus lies the question. And this particular course, we are going to be focusing on comprehension a little bit more than conversational skills. So many adults actually are interested in learning Sanskritam, and the difficulty lies, one of the difficulty lies in the fact that the way it's taught in various programs is using a diverse range of books covering diverse topics, but mainly focusing on the grammatical concepts of the language with no with no link to the philosophy, right? And most adults are interested in the philosophy as well. That's one of the primary focuses. That's one of the reasons why they want to learn Sanskritam, to get to the heart of it all, which is the magnificent philosophy of this culture. So this program aims to combine both. So we will be exploring the language using the Bhagavad Gita as the anchor. So that means most of our examples will be taken from the shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita. So it's inevitable that you will be touching the philosophy at all points. Um, but once again, since Sanskritam is not that much of an easy language to learn, because when compared to modern languages, it's much more ancient, and the structures that which it uses are ancient. It's more akin to the way Greek or Latin is built. In that sense, it's a bit different to modern languages. So it does require some rigor and some structure, which is basically Sanskrit Vyakaranam, grammar. You can't escape it. All we're going to do is we're going to immerse ourselves into this Vyakarana Nadi, this river of Vyakaranam, and combine it with the river of the Gita, right? So this conjunction is where we are going to reside and do our exploration. So I will be starting off with a discussion of Shiksha, which is the Vedanga, basically phonetics, as was known in the Indian milieu. Shiksha, Vyakaranam, these two are two of the primary Vedangas which are actually required before any Vedic study is done. And this has been the case since millennia, ever since Veda has been flowing, right? So without Vyakaranam and Shiksha, you really can't even touch the Veda, you can't even understand it. And linguistics, as is taught in modern universities, owes a great debt to Shiksha Shastram. And the founders of linguistics themselves were one of them, the main founder was basically a Sanskritist. So we will be starting our study of Sanskritam with a little bit of introduction to Shiksha and why it is essential to learning this language. From there, once we explore the nature of the aksharas and look at this logic and structure that gives them the current classification, why the aksharas are placed in the order in which they are placed, and what is the speciality of each akshara, and what are the implications of those? What are the implications of the classification? Some of you may know that Mendeleev's periodic table was built using the Sanskrit Akshara Mala as an inspiration. He arranges his elements, row wise and column wise. And the way he gets the idea is from the way Sanskrit Aksharas are arranged. Like if you know Sanskrit Aksharas, which is the same in Hindi, in Telugu, most of the languages of India, they use the same structure, which is ka, ka, ga, ga, nga, and then that's in the along the row. Then along the column, you have ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. So you have this table, right? But there is a reason why you have this kind of two-dimensional structure, and within it, actually, there are a couple more dimensions hidden. So we are going to be exploring the implications of that structure and why it's important to learning the language. And that will take us to Sandhi. Sandhi meaning the combination of letters, how the logical ways in which Sandhi takes place. And from there, once you have a grasp of that, we will be going into the nature of words. In other words, we are exploring the language from two aspects, form and content, right? So form is basically the aksharas and Sandhi phonetics, basically. Content is how the language is essentially built upon a, uh, a combination of Prakriti and Pratyaya, base and suffix. It's a Prakriti Pratyatmaka Bhasha. It's a language built upon these twin ideas of a base and a suffix coming together. It sounds very simple to say, but the power it gives to the language is just like it's amazing. It is really what gives Sanskritam the flexibility and the wonder that makes it what it is, right? So the implications of that are far reaching, and we will be exploring that. And that is how we will come into, how a sentence is structured, how nouns and verbs are created, and basically how clauses are built, right? Clauses within a sentence. First you get to words. Words are built upon by using Prakriti and Pratyaya to get verbs and nouns, basically, and you put them together using clauses, and you build a sentence using that, right? So we explored this structure under the this umbrella, Prakriti Pratyaya, base and suffix. So in other words, it's a very hardcore Vyakarana based approach to learning and teaching this language. And Gita comes into it because we are going to just take almost every example from during this process from the Gita. There is a series of 5 books published by Samskrita Bharati, Gita Sopanam, Gita Sopanam series, and then the Gita Pravesha series, where it's a beautiful set of books where they explored this language using examples from the Gita. I will be using that as primary material, but teaching so much more from it, adding a layer of Vyakaranam grammar from it. Now the question is, will I be teaching in Sanskritam? I think that would defeat the purpose. As at least the first year or 1.5 to 2 years, it will be taught in English, and there will be Sambhashanam skills also being built at the same time. And towards the latter half of the course, the second 2 years, we will be going through the Gita Shlokas, and we will be doing conversations in Sanskritam and exploring the Shlokas in Sanskritam with some commentaries, Bhashyams, the traditional Vyakyanams. So that said, that brings me to the duration of this program. It is designed as a 4-year program, but every year is broken out into 4 quarters, and each of these quarters are you can take them. You can take the first quarter, for example, if you're not sure about this whole about committing yourself for 4 years. Just take the first quarter and see how you like it, and if you do, you can proceed. The reason why it is spread out to 4 years, which seems to be a very long period of time, is because we're meeting only once a week. Uh, Learning Sanskritam, it can be done much faster if we engage ourselves much more with it, meeting like 3 times a week, for example. And then you can complete the whole study in maybe 1.5 to 2 years or 1.5 years. But since we are going to do this at a leisurely pace, because many of you are working professionals, we're going to do it at a leisurely pace. It's been spread out to that period of time. And like I said, you have the flexibility to take it in small chunks. But one thing is, if you leave it midway, like let's say you take 2 quarters, uh, then if you decide to join like 1 year later, I would be teaching the quarter in that year. So you would have to wait for a new cohort to start at that quarter, which may not happen immediately. Probably may not happen immediately, right? So that's the risk in that. That said, I think if you have tried other approaches to learning Sanskritam, if nothing has stuck, and if you want a committed way of learning the language through in a university-based structure where you will have assignments, you will have some assignments. There is rigor. The academic rigor is built in because you're going to do it through as a university course. I think that might work for you. There are many ways in which you can learn Sanskritam today, given the knowledge explosion that has taken place over the past 10-15 years. You can Vyoma Sanskritam is a very good option where they teach you for free. Samskrita Bharati is also an excellent option. Like I said, you do explore all of them. They're all awesome. Every way in which you can learn the language is an awesome way to learn the language. But everyone is unique. Every course will be unique. Every teacher is unique, and you are unique. So see if you like it. See if you like the approach with the way in which I will be teaching, and if you like my current introduction to this language, the way I plan to teach it. And if you're curious, you can join the quarter and see how it goes. So that is a brief introduction to how I plan to teach this course. Um, we can go into a little more details, like what are the topics, etc. But that is probably not necessary unless one of you is curious as to the academic breakdown, what chapters, what topics exactly you're going to teach. If that's the case, we can do a little bit more detail. Let's
Mahodaya,
make it interactive. Yeah.
a little bit about the eligibility. Who
Oh,
is
yes.
eligible? What is the
Right.
requirement?
Right. So who is eligible for this course? There's only one requirement. You need to be able to read the Devanagari Aksharas. Devanagari is a script which was used currently in Hindi. Like if you know Hindi, you will know how to read Devanagari. So as long as you can read Devanagari, right, uh, you are eligible to join this course. That's the only requirement. And there will be some homework. Like every week you'll have, like, you would have you have to read for at least 4 hours a week, 4 to 5 hours a week. It gets more intensive as the course progresses. In the first quarter, I don't anticipate you having to read a lot, but in the second quarter onwards, you will have to put in some time to actually do the homework and revise and catch up.
Nice. Rabiji is asking, maybe you can give a broader kind of answer. He joined because he feels that the title implies that Sanskritam enhances one's experience of the knowledge in the language of the divine dialogue. And I think that's true, right? The non-translatables, the way that Sanskrit carries so much more weight than English. One of my favorite quotes, and I'll say it again, is language is the old growth forest of the mind, right? The different ideas that are carried in words and how these abstract concepts can be shared. It's very beautiful. So if you can just expand on that a little bit, on how actually uh, reading and understanding the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskritam is different than in English.
Right, right. Uh, the parents line translation, there are so many ways in which you can translate a sentence, and given the context, right? So if you have the ability to understand the sentence as literally as possible, that gives you a blank slate on where to contextualize that meaning, which will further change the meaning. So, to gain the ability to understand the literal meaning of the words, that is the basic raw material you need so that you can understand why different perspectives arise. So you have, the Advaita perspective, the Vishishtadvaita perspective, the Dvaita perspective, the Dvaita Advaita perspective. You have so many modern interpretations of the Gita. How legitimate are all of these? Like, do you agree with the way in which the verse is being interpreted? If you do not know the literal meaning of the sentence, you have no basis on which to even make such a judgment, right? So, so to acquire that literal knowledge of the language is what you need. So, if somebody says that this is Bhagavad Gita as it is, for example, quite a famous book, all of you should be, I think many of you should be aware of it. Really, there is no way you can say, this is the actual as it is meaning of the verse is this, because the actual literal meaning of a sentence will be very mild. You have to contextualize it in some way or the other. And the moment you place it in context, you've actually gone beyond the as it is meaning, right? As it is scope. So if you say, for example, he is a bookworm, right? We look at that sentence. The literal meaning bookworm doesn't really convey anything, like, but actually the rudiments are there. He is like immersed in the book as if he's a worm in a book. So, but you have to get that rudimentary meaning first to actually then contextualize it later on. So this is why you need this kind of knowledge. And yes, Sanskritam is a divine language and it is a divine dialogue. Now, what do I mean by that? I have to contextualize the word divine here. It's a divine dialogue, of course. There's a religious context there between Arjuna and Krishna. There's a divine dialogue going on where the highest philosophical concepts are being discussed. But is the language divine on its own right? Is the question, right? Now, from a Vedic mystical point of view, you have the aksharas, the mantras coming in. Every akshara has its own spiritual significance. They say so there's a mystic meaning to the sounds. There are mystic dimensions of the sound not approachable by rational approach, right? But even leaving all that, can you still call the language divine? Now, if you take the English word divine, and if you know any Bharatiya Bhasha, you know the word Divya Bhasha. The word Divya is there in Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Marathi, all of these languages. If you say Divya, you will understand it means something that is divine. And right there, you can see the similarity between English and Sanskritam, div, right? So what is this common element div that we're talking about? Div is what we call in Sanskritam as a dhatu, a verbal root. And it has many dimensions of meaning. Two major dimensions are the concept of playing. like a child plays in a playground. And the second major dimension is the concept of lighting up, of light. This concept of lighting up is very, very significant in Sanskritam, because light is associated with knowledge, right? When it's lit up, you see it, right? When you see it, you know it. When you know it, you see it, right? So the concept of div, referring to light, is what we mean when we say the word deva. Deva means a shining being. Now, why is that being shining? One interpretation is shining because of knowledge, right? And then you have to discuss what is meant by knowledge. But let's get so far, right? And also the second concept is playing. A child at play in the world. Or take it further, God at play with in the universe, right? So now, when you have something to communicate, you use a language. And when you use a language, you use words which are symbols which encapsulate meaning. These symbols, these symbols are the instruments of conveying and understanding knowledge. And how good your instruments are dictates to a certain extent how effective your communication or your learning is going to be. Sanskritam puts an extreme focus on those symbols. Each symbol is made up of parts, and it describes those parts, right? So now you have a concept of play coming in. A part A combining with part B to give you a verbal symbol, or A plus B plus C given with certain transformations gives you a certain verbal symbol to give you a certain meaning. So it's a concept of like Lego blocks. You put certain basic entities together to get words which give you various kinds of meaning from the same blocks in different orders. They give, or in different combinations, they give you different meanings. So this kind of play that's happening on div, right? Play, that makes it a divya bhasha. It's also when you've done such a deep contemplation on the instruments of knowledge, the words, the way in which the information is encapsulated. When you've done such a deep contemplation, you actually end up contemplating on the self, because the self is the one that generates meaning. Therefore, now it becomes an instrument of knowledge in so many different ways. You have knowingly created an instrument in an intelligent way to convey meaning. This concept, right? This whole idea of actually creating a language where you have put a hyper focus on each on the fundamental building blocks with which that language is built, that implies a kind of perfection at work. The word for perfection is samyak karanam. Sam meaning perfectly, it's a prefix meaning perfectly, samyak. Karana means doing, or kritam means that which is done. Sam kritam samskritam. And there you see the element of play, the element of knowledge, all of it encapsulated together. So from a purely rational point of view, it becomes, in the Indian context, a divya bhasha. And here I have isolated it from the mystical and religious aspects, right? Now you can add those. I'm not denying those. Those are further layers that you add upon this. Because it is used to convey Veda, it becomes divine, right? The word Veda itself comes from the verbal root vid, to know, as in the word vidwan, a scholar. Veda is that which teaches, right? And what does it teach? It teaches us about ourselves, right? So Sanskritam is something that makes you focus on the true nature of yourself and your relationship with the world. In that sense, it is the true play that's going on in everyone's life, right? So it's a divine language. So, so yes, so it is a perfect instrument for the divine dialogue. The language is divine, the dialogue is divine. It is a divine dialogue in more ways than one.
Wow. Thank you, Haridasji, for that explanation. Let me put the details of the beginner course, the step one, right here. It's going to be on Sunday starting October 12th. You can click through there. And I know a lot of people are asking in the Q&A, what if I don't know any Sanskrit, no Devanagari and anything? We have a different course for that. We'll share that. And there's going to be a special session where you can supercharge your learning of Devanagari. I'll share that shortly. But let's hear some more questions about this Bhagavad Gita through Sanskritam. any other details? How much time, somebody was asking, how much time is expected per week or outside of class? People are also asking, do you get time during class to work on your script and development? And Parvati ji answered that in the Q&A box, but we can take some time to talk about it as well.
So how much time do you need? So I would say you will need around 4 hours a week to set aside to prepare for the class and review the material. That would be the requirement. It may extend to 5 hours as you go deeper in, especially in quarters 2 through I would say 8. There's going to be a little bit more focus on actually doing homeworks, etc. So that would take you maybe 5 hours a week. I would anticipate. So that's the time you need to set aside. And what was the second question, Ankurji? Was there another one?
Parvati ji, go ahead. Maybe some context at
Many,
the higher level.
many are asking about the requirement, what kind of fluency do they need in reading and writing Devanagari script before they start the course. So some of them can identify the Devanagari letters, but they're not sure about their fluency. And some are asking if there's a test, which they take to decide whether they are at the right level, entry level.
Okay. Well, if you can read Hindi, you can read Devanagari. But one thing is, like for example, let's say that I write this word. Let me share my screen here. 1 second. So let me share my screen. Okay. So let's say that I write a word here. Now, if you read this, let me increase the size of this. No, okay. So I think all of you can see this word, right? If you read this word, a typical Hindi person who knows Hindi and knows Sanskritam will read this as Ram. In Sanskritam, you read this as Rama, right? As long as you can read this word, even if you say only Ram, you can correct that habit. You can say Rama because there is an ending a here, right? Whereas if I write in Sanskritam, if I do want to say Ram, I would say it like this, and you can see the difference in the aksharas. I've cut off the consonant here, so it's Ram. This is the true Ram, whereas this is Rama. Now, if you can read this, and if you can read simple shlokas in Sanskritam, if you are in the habit of reading shlokas, and you have no trouble reading simple shlokas in Devanagari or simple sentences in Devanagari, then you're fine. Does that answer your question? You don't need a test for learning. I mean, for assessing whether you know Devanagari or not. I mean, I think you can make the decision on your own. If you can take any simple, even Hindi, just take a simple line in Hindi and see whether you can just read it. You don't have to understand it. I'm asking you whether you can read the word, the aksharas. This is not about understanding, just recognition of the script and what sound each letter represents. Can you do that? Right? So if I write Hari, right? Can you recognize it? Can you see this is Hari? What about this? Can you read this? I don't need you to know the meaning. Can you read it? That's the question, right?
Great. Thank you for going through that. And I guess you use that kind of tool during classes when you're teaching as well, so you get a little flavor for that. Parvati ji?
A few questions are about the class time and such. So the class is going to happen at the same time, same day for the 4 years.
Yes.
Until something drastic happens, there's not going to be a change. And it is going to be taught by Haridashji for the next 4 years. So the faculty, the time, the day does not change. It remains the same. And there was one question in the chat. Ankurji, would you want to read that out loud about the Amantram Aksharam Nasti? That is what the question is about. Wow. I think you commented, and there's a question about how every alphabet is a mantra.
Yeah, I mean, so depending on the philosophy, right? Like if you go into Tantra, various systems of Indian philosophy that have come up across through the ages have assigned different meanings to each of the mantra, the aksharas themselves. Like even in the Veda, you can find Akaro vai Vishnuhu, where the A represents Vishnu, right? So you can do it's a question of interpretation, right? It's a question of interpretation, and of course, it has implications on meaning. And the mantra has got a power that depends on the interpretation of the word, right? So the significances are there, but that's not what I'm going to be teaching in this course. I'm going to be teaching you just the language, and we're going to approach the Gita through the language. The philosophical dimensions like Tantra, the mystical aspects of the Aksharas, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to talk about how you pronounce the aksharas and the details of, the implications of the pronunciation. Like you can say akara is kantyakshara, it's in the kanta, the point of articulation is in the back of the throat. Dantya, takara is dantya, the consonant ta starts in the gentle position. All those we'll be discussing. But the significance of each akshara, right? Like if you're a Devi Upasaka, you will assign different dimensions of meaning for each akshara as opposed to other systems. So we're not going to go into that kind of investigation.
Haritashi, there's also a question about whether someone can practice reading and writing in this time, the 2 weeks that there is, 2-3 weeks before the class begins.
Of course, you can definitely do that. In the first course, in the first course, I will be teaching the aksharas. I will be focusing only on the aksharas for a good chunk of it because we're going to be discussing sandhi and phonetics. So you do have time to catch up on your reading skills in the first quarter. The assignments will help you there as well. So yes, definitely you can do that. As far as the class timings are concerned, right now I'm going to be doing this on Fridays from 9 p.m. Eastern time to 10:30 Eastern time. So the class may run over depending on we may have some questions, etc. The discussions may be going on for up to 2 hours, but the slotted time is 9 to 10:30 p.m. in the Eastern time, which means if you're on the West Coast, adjust accordingly. It'll be 6 p.m. for you. Fridays. What's on
There's a
Friday?
question about pronunciation that I would like to answer. If someone needs help, where a person is helping them with the pronunciation, we have a course called Introduction to Sound Sanskrit. I teach that course. It happens on Sunday afternoons. And if you want to attend that class, that is a place where you can practice, where every one of your pronunciation, there will be corrections, the appropriate pronunciation modes will be discussed, and you will also have practice. You'll record yourself, send an audio, we'll talk to you about how you read. All those will happen in that class. So if any of you are interested, but that is something that you'll have to probably enroll simultaneously with this BGDS. So, and you'll probably be working on both of them for the first quarter. So the Sanskritam through Bhagavad Gita itself is not going to give you that kind of practice in class where your pronunciation is corrected at every point and you get a lot of that kind of practice. I would say that please enroll in Introduction to Sound Sanskrit, which is available in the fall quarter.
Ankurji, I think the correction is not 8 p.m. EST to 9:30. It's
Yeah,
9.
I accidentally put the other batch's information. So as we talked about, we have 2 batches.
Okay.
The proficiency, I had the wrong date. So I updated it right there. It's Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So
9 p.m. Eastern time to 10:30 p.m.
oh, 9 p.m.
9 p.m. Eastern to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah.
And updated here. Okay. Sorry about that. So that's Saturday morning for you in India.
That's right.
All right. Dr. Mamta Saxena from New Delhi, thank you for joining. Appreciate you being here. John Jones, becoming a regular from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Thank you for joining. The fees are $350 for the one course, and then you can enroll again and again, or if you enroll in the whole program, there's a little bit of a program enrollment discount. And I think Parvatiji, you're going to give Prakash Raoji a call later.
Yes. Anyone who would like to talk to us in person, please write to info@hua.edu. If you have questions about registration, if you have questions that you only we can answer for you and you would like to talk to us, please write to info@hua.edu and they'll put you in touch with either Haridash or me, and you can talk to us and we will help you understand this better. When if there are any questions, specific questions that pertain to yourself that you need to talk to us about. And there's a question about the benefits of certification, Haridashji.
Right,
for this
right.
course.
Yeah. So what are the benefits of certification? Are you thinking of any professional results that you can get from learning this course? I'm not sure. Like you it will give you skill with definitely you will be you'll have a very solid knowledge of Sanskritam, and you can read any of the texts with confidence. That's what we are aiming for. Now, in terms of financial benefit, I'm not sure how you would leverage this. You could go on to do a PhD in any university. I think it will definitely be respected the knowledge that you've learned here. You could enroll for higher studies in Sanskritam, and then see from there where you can take it. That's what I have to say about that. Unless you have something to add, Parvati ji.
Nothing there, Haridashji.
Yeah. Just there was one more question, right? Okay. Yeah, I think you could.
Okay, there's a question about what is the class for those who want to read and write the Devanagari script, practice that. It's called Introduction to Sounds and Script of Devanagari. And the course code would be LAN 0002. So that will be the course. It's a second course. The reason I'm asking all of you to enter into the second course is assuming that you know how to write the basic letters and you just need more help with practice, just with more practice. If you are absolutely new, you have not even seen Devanagari letters, and you want to start at the beginning, we have another course for that as well. That's another course that introduces you to the sounds of Devanagari script. That does not involve writing. It's only about the first course would be only walking you through how each alphabet sounds, being able to recognize them and being able to read it out. The writing aspect is in the second part of the course. But the current one, the students we already have are all able to read and write. And so it's a lot more practice. And when it's a practice, it's both prose and poetry. So we'll help you recite as well as read prose in that particular course. And that happens on Sunday afternoons at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah. So as far as pronunciation goes, for this course, in the first quarter, we will go through the pronunciation of every single letter. So if your knowledge is a bit shaky, it will be reinforced. So don't worry about that. We will be chanting by the end of this course, we would have chanted every shloka of the Bhagavad Gita. So chanting is there in the course, but the initial focus is on understanding the grammatical foundations of the language. Chanting will be there. We will be reading shlokas, going through the pronunciations, etc. As part of the first quarter, when you do sandhi, of course, you'd have to pronounce them. But if you want to purely focus on knowledge of pronunciation, yeah, I do recommend Parvatiji's the course that Parvatiji mentioned. And we have other courses in HUA also where CPSP, right? Do you want to talk about that, Parvatiji?
Yes, Haridash. There's one question about the course fees. When Ankurji mentioned $350, that would be for the first course. So when we say one course, that's 1 quarter. So there are 4 such in a year. And this is only if you register one course at a time. If you register for the program, the cost is about 25% lesser, is how I think it's on our website. If you need more information about the cost and the payment modes, please again, info@hua.edu, and somebody will be able to give you all the breakups and help you understand that. Now, for the other course offerings that are in Sanskritam area that are available at HUA, for those of you who are interested, if anyone is interested, is an absolute beginner and wants to start, we have a course that is coming up in the fall quarter, which will be 2 weekend sessions. So when I say weekend, it will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday immersion experience of only the sounds of Devanagari script. And after that, there will be a course offered for the writing, and that will help one gain fluency. We also have the Sanskritam Proficiency for Vedic Studies. It's a certificate program. That is a 4-year program as well. There, for those who say we know Devanagari script, in spite of everyone knowing the Devanagari script, the first course still, helps you gain fluency in the in reading and writing before we go on to the text itself, the grammar itself. That is another course that's available. Again, that's a 4-year program, which also goes through the Vyakaranam, but not necessarily sticking to one text. We have texts that we use that are used for students who take Sanskritam as a foreign language in North America. And that's the course called SPVS, program called SPVS. We also have, for those of you interested in conversation in Sanskritam, we have the micro certificate in conversational Sanskritam, which is also offered in the fall quarter. But this requires you to know some Sanskritam grammar at the entry level itself. It is not for students who know no Sanskritam. So it assumes some knowledge of Sanskritam because the grammar is not going to be taught in class. It will only help you speak and have fluency in speaking. That will be a 1-year course, micro certificate in conversational Sanskritam, MCCS. These are some of the courses that are going to be offered in the fall quarter. For those of you who say, I have taken some Sanskritam in school, and in addition to the Sanskritam through Bhagavad Gita, I also want to continue taking, starting the Vyakaranam from where I left off. The Sanskritam SPVS takes in lateral entries as well. So that is also another thing to look at. And I don't know if any of you are ready to take the SPT yet, but this is some information for those of you who are who feel I know enough Sanskritam and I'm just here to learn the Bhagavad Gita, in a manner that is more structured, and that is all. But I know the Vyakaranam, and if you're interested in taking it further, we also have MA in Sanskritam, and you can take the proficiency test to see if you qualify for that. But this program, the Bhagavad Gita course, as well as the other certificate course, both of them will help you take that Sanskrit proficiency test at the end of the course and be able to have enough knowledge to enter into a master's level program at HU.
Right. So I do recommend, I mean, if you have the time and if you have the bandwidth, right, you can take simultaneously, you can take the SPVS as well, or the MCCS, the Conversational Sanskrit program, concurrently with this course. In other words, all these courses are complementary, except for the most basic one where you learn the script and how to pronounce the sounds. The others are all complementary. The more time you spend learning Sanskritam, the better. The more courses you're in, the better in the learning stage. All of them will complement each other. At least the ones that I taught at HUA will. So they're not like, I should join only this, I can't join that. You don't have to think of it that way.
There's a question that Sanskritam speakers can be very orthodox. So that is, I wouldn't say that that's a general statement. It's like any other language speaking. So it has nothing to do with one being orthodox or otherwise. That is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're talking about the correct way of pronunciation, now Mahodaya can go into the correct way of pronunciation with respect to Sanskritam. Of course, if you listen to people speaking in India, people from different regions speak the language very differently. Even fluent speakers, people who are very, scholars in the language, you will still hear them saying things differently. But there is one way in which Shiksha would tell that it has to be pronounced. So that disagreement is there, but there is one definite answer. Mahodaya can explain more.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the pronunciation of the aksharas goes, it's been rigorously documented by Panini himself in the Shiksha Shastram. The place of articulation, the kind of effort that's needed. And of course, you do have some regional variations over time and space in India. But those kinds of pursuits and why differences arise, etc., are not directly pertaining to learning the language. We are still at this introductory stage, and we'll stick to those. So, as and when any regional variations become an issue, we can discuss it at that point.
And for all our courses, if you are looking at other courses as well, you can either write to info@hua.edu and they will send you a list of all the courses that you have to look at, or you could visit our website and just go to the fall quarter and see what are the courses that are offered. It will tell you the course. You will get all the information. Ankurji, can you pull up some things to show what it would look like and where they would go, what they would find?
Yeah, so if you go to our course page, then you can filter by different things, upcoming, by the fall quarter, by Sanskrit, or whichever subject. And then you can see what courses we're offering. I'll put this in the chat as well. So we have a robust course catalog, and we continue to offer and refine. And I think Sanskrit is a great example of this as we continue to develop the program where people are at. We continue to offer new courses, fit in new batches, and please do consider enrolling in a course. If you haven't enrolled, then you haven't experienced our learning management system. Week by week, the readings, the links, the assignments, everything is made easy and accessible. The recordings of classes are there in case you miss a class. And you get your own @hua.edu email address, and you become part of the HUA family. So please, if you haven't enrolled yet, this is a beautiful place to start, especially if you already have this knowledge of Devanagari and the script. This is probably a wonderful course for you to start with. And as Haridas said, you can just take the one course. You don't have to make the full commitment, but we think after you get into one course, one quarter, and one course, one quarter with Haridas, you'll want to take it for 4 years. And Parvati Ji is right there in the background supporting and coordinating all of this. So please do consider enrolling. I have the poll up. Let us know if you don't see it. Minimize, maximize. Let us know if you're interested in enrolling in this course and this whole program.
Could you also share a phone number for people to reach out to if the registration team, if they need to get more information about other courses?
Yeah. I'll put the phone number and the email right.
And as Ankurji said, even if you sign up for the first course, we see that after 2-3 classes, we do ask you, are you interested in signing up for the program? So many such registrations that starts with a course becomes a program registration for us, and we have seen that in the past.
Yeah, I think in general, the courses at HUA signal, approaching study from a purely from a perspective of being curious about knowledge, right? Many of you do have Indian backgrounds. So especially in India, this is true where to a large extent where, we go to college, we do our studies with a view to getting into a job and earning money, which is absolutely needed. But this kind of course and many of the courses we offer here are geared towards, you're not worried about those aspects. Let's say you're not worried about primarily about the economic aspects. You are worried about knowledge. You want to know what actually happened to me. What is my culture about? Where did I come from? In terms of, what is this cultural milieu from which I spring? How do I identify myself? If you have questions about identity, which do happen, right, at this point when you're beyond that worrying about economic concerns, then the discovery of your roots cannot happen without understanding the culture, and you cannot understand Indian culture if you don't know Sanskritam. Sanskritam has influenced every aspect of every single state in India from a cultural perspective, right from Tamil Nadu all the way up to Kashmir, right, from the east to the west also. Sanskritam is embedded in the culture, in the languages, in the various languages. If you do have an Indian background, you'll have an immense advantage in learning Sanskritam. And you find so much concordance with English as well. I can't tell you, like, as you learn, you discover, oh my God, this word in English has got this cognate word in Sanskritam. And you will see that across the Indo-European language spectrum, this thread of Sanskritam runs through all the way, right? So to ultimately understand your identity and where you spring from, knowing Sanskritam is absolutely essential. So what is the advantage of a certificate in Sanskritam? That's up to you to decide for yourself. Leaving aside the economic aspects of it and the financial aspects of it, right? I think it's invaluable. It's priceless. So with that, I think that's what I have to say as far as the course goes. Any more questions?
One more thing that we probably have to mention is every quarter, at the end of it, there's an exam, and it's also conducted remotely. You want to say something about that, Uday, as to whether they are
Yes, yes.
required to
So
do it a particular day or if they have a flexibility in doing it on a different.
yeah, so a quarter typically encompasses 10 weeks, right? So it's 10 lectures. And at the end of it, you do have a test, a quarter end examination, QEE as we call it. Um, Typically, that is a it could be a series of multiple choice questions. It could be an essay you have to write, an essay you have to translate. I've done all of those combinations. So it will, and I do give a generous amount of time for the QEE, where you can take it at your leisure in your home on your computer and submit it. So, but it is a requirement to pass on to get a passing grade to go to the next quarter. Yeah, and that will be a feature of every single course or every single quarter. You will have a quarter end examination at the end of each one to assess where you are. Um,
So that is an important thing to make a note of. If you skip one course, there is no going into the next course. If you have no attendance, if you have not turned in your work for that particular course, it means you'll have to wait when till that course is offered again to take it, repeat it. You would not be able to. The eligibility criteria for each course is that you have completed the previous one.
right, right. Well, of course, the reason you're learning Sanskritam and why you have this course is ultimately the philosophy, right? We aim to give you the tools by which you can understand the shlokas by yourself and look at the bhashyams by yourself and understand them. So yes, of course, like I said in the beginning, the goal is the philosophical aspect. That is the heart of it all. That's why you are learning Sanskritam, right? So yeah, I agree with you. The Bhagavad Gita is for warriors, okay? If you say so, it's also for scholars. It's actually for the man at peace. How about that? For the human at peace. What was the Latin saying? Vis pacem pare bellum, right? If you want peace, prepare for war, right?
Though the context is the setting of a war, I would say that it's for us, it need not be that kind of a war. It can be the war we fight with ourselves every single day. We are all at war with all our varying emotions, varying thoughts. We are at war within. It's not just about without.
Of
It's the
course,
war within for which we are able to get answers for from the Bhagavad Gita.
right.
Ankurji, I think we are at the end of the time for presenting the course and take questions. If there are any other pending questions that needs to be answered, could you please?
No, I think we got through everything. Everyone had a chance to ask their questions. You did a wonderful job of answering them. Uh, I think got a lot of positive response. Quite a few people who are. We actually got 5 people who said yes, they are definitely interested in enrolling in the CSBG. So that's very nice. And we'll be following up with everyone by email and make sure that we get a hold of you. Thank you, everyone. It's always my pleasure to host these webinars and this program in particular. I'm looking forward to the time when I can enroll and be a part of this. And Haridaji, when you say you can't appreciate the Bharat without the Sanskritam, I'm like, oh man, I have to get into this. And I hope the audience is also feeling like that. So please do consider enrolling. Let us know. We put the phone numbers and the emails. You'll get it afterwards. Yeah, so that's it for me. Let me hand it back to both of you for any closing thoughts, or if you want to end on a mantra or anything. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Dhanyawad for me.
Yeah, one shloka from the Gita, one part of it. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. Okay.
You'll probably have to say what that means.
So nahi so there's nothing like knowledge. There is nothing as sacred as knowledge in this world. That's the meaning.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad.